Hey everyone, it's Johnny here. So a few weeks ago, I caught up with my mate Tim Elliott on his podcast called The Ari of Marketing, and we had two conversations. One was about websites, and I published that video and podcast a few weeks ago now. And the other conversation that we had was all about brand purpose. Now, if you've watched any of my videos or if you've listened to the podcast or look at any of my content, I often talk about brand purpose. And it's a word that comes up quite a lot at the moment. I'm finding definitely through this whole pandemic that purpose is a word that we're using more regularly because I think people are trying to realign themselves now and look for a stronger purpose or realign themselves with their philosophy or their brand values. So we hear it a lot. And I suppose it's a word that has a bit of an identity crisis. People use it for different reasons. It does have a lot of different meanings. So purpose can be the thing that gets you up in the morning. It's the thing that drives you. It's the thing that gives you ambition and motivation. Often when I talk about purpose, I do talk about a just cause, but I look at it more, I think, from a more altruistic point of view. When I think of purpose, I think of like giving back and doing good and giving more and being the best person or the best business or the best brand you can be. So in this conversation, we talk about lots of different things. We talk about my videos that I create when I'm running around doing my exercise in the morning, and sort of mid-run, I'll make a short video, which seems to be getting quite a lot of attention at the moment. We talk about brand as a whole. We talk about the meaning of brand and branding, and then we move on to brand purpose. And yeah, we have a good conversation about it, and I kind of talk to him about my feelings about brand purpose and why it's important. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. So yeah, this is Tim Elliott from the Ari of Marketing, all about brand purpose.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Elliott, and this is Rebite number 6 and part 2 of special guest Johnny Prest. Just in case people haven't listened to the first one, Johnny, say hello and introduce yourself and what you do for a living.
Well, hello. So I'm Johnny. And as before, my daytime job, I'm the creative director at Seed, and my part-time job, stroke hobby, stroke interest, is all things brand strategy of Brandmaster Flash.
And I think that's so what we're talking about in part 2, why John is still here, right? We've not had a repeat guest before on this whole thing, so it's important. It's because Johnny does these great videos on I see them on LinkedIn. I presume they're other places, but I see them on LinkedIn where he's mid-run, post-run, I don't know, during a run, and he stops or pauses to film a little diatribe, right? A little conversation, maybe even a rant about something that's on his mind mid-run in the beautiful county of Leicestershire somewhere. And there was one about 3 weeks ago that kind of resonated, right? If you've listened to any of these other episodes of this podcast, you will know the moral of every story that we have, the word purpose or having a meaning or doing good business. I don't mean good business as in the spreadsheet. I mean business that is beneficial to people or planet or problems, right? You've got something else that drives you apart from the bottom right. And I'll put this in the show notes, the link to this post, but I think it was about 3 weeks ago, as we record this early October. And it was a rant, right, Johnny? About purpose. Had what triggered that? Because I watch all of your content because we know each other in the real life, right? And I consider you a friend, right? What I watch most of your content, but not a lot of it has that element to it, right? There was I'm going to say the word at least a bit anger or frustration about it. Tell us about what triggered that, mate.
To be honest with you, I think I know that there's been a few of these videos, the rant ones, and I don't know which one. Is it the one where I'm walking through the woods? Is it the obstacle is the way? That one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, right. Okay. So most of my videos come about with me thinking about stuff, making notes at odd times, whether it be in the night, in the morning, in the day. And then eventually something will happen in my life where it just all comes together. So I've got loads of notes that are going on all the time about lots of different subjects, mainly around brand, but and then something will happen. And I think that day, what happened was that I kept hearing people say on social, on TV, saying, when we go back to normal, when we go back to normal, it just got to me that day, and it brought together a few different things. And I've been reading about stoicism as well, and that kind of helped there. And it was everyone complaining about the government and complaining about that their businesses were being shut down, and everyone wanted to go back to normal. And you 1 minute, if you watch the news, 1 minute you're hearing about how bad the virus is, and then you're hearing about how bad everyone's having it, and then about everyone fighting back. And I think it all just came together in one thing. And the reason why I'm running when this happens is, one, it's difficult for me to record a video in a house with 2 children under the age of 4, in a very small house as well. So the only time I can just talk in front of my mobile phone properly is when I'm outside. And that's normally when I'm running, and it's mid-run. So that's why I'm normally out of breath. It's not because I'm in the woods walking around out of breath. Strange way. It's because I'm trying to get my breath back. And also the reason why it's in the woods, because it's normally quite windy. I'm right in the countryside, and I go in the woods to try and stop the wind normally. So I do know the video, and it was basically, it was about purpose, but it was also about innovation and pivoting, and also just kind of saying to people, look, this is all changing. The world is changing. It really is. And we just, with this, for the listeners, if you listen to we're mid-October, and we're going into second, third lockdowns, peaks, and all stuff, all that kind of stuff. And we're all like going, so life isn't going to go back to normal. I thought it's only going to last for 4 weeks, and now we're mid-October, and it's as bad as it was before, if not worse. And I think it all just came out in that one video, really. That's how where it came from. And yeah, and I'm glad that you like them, because I hope that people get something from them, because I feel like it's not just something I kind of just spontaneously do. They kind of come together organically over lots of reading and listening and watching and hearing things and stuff. And that one just came out. It's probably my more animated, emotional one, because I do feel with businesses now that you can't be thinking, when we go back to normal, we'll do this. When it goes back to normal, we'll just do that. Because I think we can all see now that there isn't, the one, it's not going to go back to how it was before for a long, long time. And the fact is, we know that which way it's going. It's not going to things aren't going to look like that now. And just to echo from the last conversation we had about that bottom 20 or 30% of industries and businesses, it's those are the ones that really need to think differently about how their business model. And it's all the fun industries, it's all the ones that I love and you love and we used to do a lot of, which is going drinking and socializing and sport and all the things that are amazing about life. They're the ones that are getting hit hardest. And that's why I think people are getting emotional and upset, and it upsets me. I just deeply feel for so many businesses and my friends that work in these industries that are just like, what next, and so that's what the video is about. And I suppose it was a little bit about purpose, but I think this conversation will now, rather than talk about business models, I think we'll kind of more talk about purpose.
But it was like what you've just said just now in the last couple of minutes, it like brought a couple of things to mind. One was a meme I saw on Facebook last night, posted by I can't remember who it was posted by, but it was a meme, and it was like a mum looking a bit irate, with a big, like in a stereotypical household, right? And it says, no one listens unless I lose my shit. You know what I mean? Like, nobody listens unless I lose my shit. That's why that's why they're so angry, right? And I think that's the case now, right? I think there's so much stuff out there, like so much stuff out there, like information about COVID, about business, about what's good, what's not. Not only COVID, right? There's been recently a video from the United Nations with a bunch of famous people on that highlighted everything else that's going on in the world, right? Not just like, it's a pretty terrible year without COVID in it, if you look at the details, right? Right. And I think some stuff, right, needs shouting about, needs ranting about. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of communications at the moment are stepping on eggshells, if that's the right word, walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around, right, being quiet. So it takes an element of bravery and an element of passion to shout about stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why that video kind of resonated with me, because it's, you know, at times I feel like stuff needs shouting about. Somebody should shout at people about the stuff that's going on. And another thing that kind of connected to that, I went to attended an online event called the Good Business Festival last week, as we record this on the Friday. And it had on it a guy who is a professor at Oxford Uni, and Oxford Uni, for people who don't know, are a mile ahead of the game in a COVID vaccine race, right? They're a way away still, but they are ahead of the game. So they've done a bunch of research into it. And he was saying, I wish the government would just say that, stop referring to going back to normal, because this is normal. This is now normal. This is the way it is, right? If you keep putting out the communication, the message that we're going back to normal, people will just sit and wait and not take any action. Because we need people to get on with stuff in this normal, right? This is now normal, because the vaccine could be 18 months away, and by which time viruses mutate. Right? What we will do is get better at treating it, but this is how it is. So move forward. Like, always keep moving forward. Take action. Don't sit and wait for it to go back how it was, because it's not. Right? And he was like, I wish the government would say that. We've advised them to say that, but they are so afraid of upsetting people, I suppose, right? So afraid of disrupting, I don't know, the voters, the contributors, the people in industry. But I think if they were good enough to take advice and go, look, we need to push forward. And I think they have been, to a degree, right? They had the debacle of, don't go into the office, work from home if you can, go back to the office, oh, hold on, don't go to the office sort of situation recently. And I think it's not just COVID, right? This isn't a political COVID podcast, but
no,
there's an element of, we have to do better, right? We have responsibility as businesses, as individuals, to do something, right? To take action, maybe.
Yeah, I think going back to your point about why aren't we having the right conversations, I think one, people aren't ready for that yet, and people don't want to hear that yet. It's so close to Christmas as well. You know what I mean? Like, we know people just want to talk about everything being hunky dory for Christmas, which it's not. I don't think people can handle the truth yet, and the reason why I say that is because I am around people like that. I'm not going to mention it, but I'm around people that just think that it's all going to go back to normal, everything's going to be hunky-dory. Now, what I think we need now, and obviously this is just my opinion, is we need a distraction. All right, we need a distraction from this big old hairy massive thing that's going on, which is COVID, right? Okay, we need a distraction that's going to take us away from the fact that we're not going to be able to have a pint and watch a football game with our mates for a while. Okay, and that's not good. There's lots of some of the things that we love doing, which we enjoy a lot. Okay, we need a distraction. Now there is a really great distraction out there. And before I talk about this, I don't want to I don't want to sound preachy either, and that's the last thing, because I don't like preachers. And also, I'm not a saint. Like the things that I talk about in my videos about the people and the planet, look, I'm only scratching the surface with some of these things, and I feel like I'm doing my bit, but I'm not doing a lot. And I'm using my platform, my business, as a vehicle and as an amplifier to do good in the world. Okay, so when I talk about purpose, I talk about what can you do, what can businesses do beyond making money or making profit. Now lots of other people talk about purpose in other ways, like your just cause, or why you would choose to exist, your why, you know, what gets you up in the morning, which is important. But when I talk about purpose, I talk about what can your business do, or what does your business do beyond making money. Now, there are two big issues that we have in the world right now. It's people and the environment. So people, we need to protect people. So with COVID, the reason why we're putting these rules and regulations in place is to try and protect people that who do get this virus and who will get really ill from it. We need to try and protect them. And that is a complex thing, because we don't know who those underlying health issues, but some people it's totally random. We don't know. It's roulette. So there's that, and that's what we're working on. The other thing is the environment. Now, not many people think about the environment or talk about the environment. It is starting to become more and more important. Obviously, people like David Attenborough and Prince William are leading the way to say, hey, look, we know that COVID is bad, but there's also this other big thing that we need to worry about. COVID will go. COVID will be old news. The environment is here for everyone, for our friends, our families, our children, and we do need to take it more seriously, because most people that I know don't give a shit. They don't. And that's most people. There's some people that do care but don't really know what to do. There's some people that are trying to do something, and there's some people that are really doing something. I would say I'm in the trying to do something category, which is small, but we need to try and get everyone into the trying to do something. And there's lots and lots of things that you can do in terms of helping your environment. Loads of things. You can't do all of them. Not everyone does it all perfectly, but there's something you can do. Now, people have got much more leverage and power when they do it together. Okay, and then when are we all together? When we're at work. So if we can do it together whilst we're at work, that's why brands and organizations and businesses have more power, more leverage to improve the environment than just one person. So what I'm trying to I don't say teach is the right word, but what I'm trying to have is conversations, how brands can make a positive impact in the world, locally, regionally, nationally, or globally, to improve the environment, and ultimately, you know, trying to reduce the reduction of the things that harm our planet and result in climate change, really. That's what I'm trying to kind of put a spotlight on without being too preachy.
Yeah.
So purpose being in an organization, what can you do as beyond making profit that helps people and helps the environment?
Yeah, I echo exactly what you said there, Johnny. It's I too have always been aware and concerned, like with the wider issue. I'm nowhere near an expert or super knowledgeable on it, right? I'm nowhere there, but I'm bothered enough to take what action I can as a solo guy in business that has some, you know, influence with people I work with, and within my tiny little corner of South Derbyshire family unit. Right, what can we do, right? And I think a bunch of our work, you know, just even in the strategy side, even in the brand side, right, is about changing people's mindsets, giving them as something else to look at, right? And if that is towards purpose. Now, purpose is one of those words that comes with a lot of baggage in our industry, right? Marketing has got hold of purpose, and now it's been a bit diluted and misunderstood by many. So when I say purpose, it's not, as Johnny said, really, it's not a massive humanitarian or environmental change, right? You don't have to aim for that, although that is beautiful if you do have that, but just make a difference to the people you serve, solve a problem, help make, like, remove a friction, help them do something better, right? Improve the life of the community you exist in, or the people you serve, or the people you employ, right? It's that good business that I think is better, because people think, well, what can my little company do to solve poverty? It's not about solving poverty, right? We are a million miles away from solving poverty, from stopping deforestation to remove plastics, right? We all know they're important things to do, but when faced with a massive challenge, right, we feel ineffective. But it's not about that massive challenge. We only have to understand the role we play individually, right? And that, like you say, businesses are a group of a smallish group of like-minded people in theory, right? And those groups of small like-minded people and individuals can make a difference in the world, right? And that difference should be good. And I think, yeah, I like that. I wrote down in my book that you said positive impact. And I think if we all reframed ourselves, especially because of what's happened in recent months, right? Not that this is again another COVID cast, but right, if we can make a positive impact to people we serve, right, any stakeholder, any customer, right, whether that's environmental or humanitarian or societal, maybe that's the way we should go for a business. That's a good story to tell. That's a strong tick mark to the credibility of our brand, even just to put it back into marketing and creative, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think when like how it's kind of evolved over the sort of the last few years is most of my clients were developing a corporate social responsibility. They were either sponsoring a local football team, or they were helping a charity, they were fundraising, and that's amazing. And obviously that's a really good start for a business to be doing that. But really, purpose, it should be at the very heart and the fabric of why you do what you do. Now, it doesn't matter if you make pens or you make a little piece of plastic that goes on something, it doesn't matter. You still can have a purpose driven brand. It needs to be at the core of what you do, and it needs to be a consensus that everyone at least believes that it's a good thing of what you're doing, and are connected with that. Because if you're going to put your business hat on now, if you take off your environmental, political, social hat on and put your business hat on, it comes with lots of really great things. So you can grow an amazing team by being purpose driven, because people will look at different companies. If you're professional, highly skilled, and you can go and work at most businesses, you may choose the right business that mirrors your values and values what you do, and has a just cause that you believe in. So it's a beacon to attract the right talent. And it is proven now, and I don't know the stats, that it's proven that purpose-driven brands are more profitable. And also, once you've got your voice and you know what you're fighting for and know what you're driving towards, I tell you what, it makes marketing so much easier. You're not just sat there in front of Twitter thinking of a tweet, or you're not just trying to design a brochure and you don't know what to put in it. When you're purpose driven and you know your product, and you know your team, and you're purpose driven, and you've got an incredible culture within the organization, you're profitable and you're driving forward, marketing is easy. And once you become so purpose driven, you don't need to invest loads of money in marketing, because everyone's doing it for you. They're out talking about you. They're sharing your content. They're sharing your work. PR comes off the back of it. Once you really focus on that within the heart of your organization, and the two main things. Okay, so let's talk about, every road leads back to brand strategy. And for me, Out of the 12 main things that I focus on within brand strategy, at the heart is purpose and vision. So why do you do what you do? What do you stand for, and where you go in? And they're the two things brands can do now. And if you can, in that, if a big part of those two things, your purpose and vision, can contribute to a positive impact, right, then that is a important thing that we could all be doing right now. And it doesn't matter if you're a sole trader or you're Facebook, we should all be doing that, because those small incremental changes, and if we can all work together to improve our lives and the people and the environment, that's the beginning. That's the roadmap that we should all be talking about.
Yeah, I think I agree totally there. So there's a couple of bits I want to refer to. One was you just mentioned stats and proof of that purpose is good for the business hat, right? When you're wearing a business hat. And there's people can Google this. There's the Kantar purpose report, Kantar Media purpose report. I'll put the link in the chat thing. But they survey like tens of thousands of businesses about purpose, and a couple of stats for them was that it said 64% of global consumers choose a brand based on their stance on a purpose now, and 91% of, I hate this word, millennials would switch to a purposeful brand by preference if there was if there was an equal product or service. They would choose the one with a bit more purpose behind it. But my favorite one, and a podcast I think I've referred to before, is the Cannes Lions, which is the marketing Oscars. Have recently put out a podcast, and there's an episode on there called Creativity Saved the Walruses. And it's a talk by Alan Jope, the CEO of Unilever. And he called it Creativity Saved the Walrus because they banned the word purpose because it had got a bit grimacy when people bring it up in conversations. But he was like, it is a talk about purpose, and they've taken a massive stand of none of their brands will not have a true and authentic and actionable and provable purpose by, I think it's 2026. And if they can't find one that truly and honestly fits, like the Real Beauty campaign for Dove, right, they will get rid of the brand out of their portfolio, which is, it could work out up to 75 million quid a year. But they've seen that their brands, right, because they do a lot of shampoos and a lot of consumer products, right, even their own competing products, I would say. But they've seen that their purposeful brands grow 69% faster than those without, and equate to 75% of the total profit and turnover growth of that company, right? And I know it's one company, but it is Unilever, and Unilever do a bunch, right? It's a good kind of case study, right? So there is starting to be real proof of the pudding that having something more than transactions attached to your brand, right, to your purpose, to your values, whatever, that it's a real thing. But you also mentioned values there that are important, because I know you're brand master flash and do a bunch of brand strategy stuff. I've even, like in previous roles, had some of my team go through your brand strategy workshop, which is awesome. But values are something that have been like bunched around in brand for decades, right? Brands have values, businesses have values. Sometimes they're just invented by the marketing department and wrote on the wall of the canteen, right? But I think if let's bring it back to creativity, let's bring it back to brand, right? The importance of brand values now, I think again is becoming to the fore, right? Like it is becoming more important, than it has been for a while.
Well, the thing with values is obviously they're for every business and every person, they're different. Okay, if you can use values in terms of a brand and an organization, they're decision making triggers, really, For me, they are anyway, and every brand will be different, but they are decision-making triggers. So how you onboard, offboard, how you generate new products, how you get rid of, how you employ, work with new clients, how you get rid of clients. Your values will be triggers of how your decision-making process. I think if you go deeper than that in terms of values as people and why we do what we do and the decisions that we make as people, well, then that's your personal values. And obviously when you've got a company with over 1,000 members of staff, you can't just focus on honesty and diligence and those things as well, because those are just values that everyone should have. I think values should be more about how you make decisions. Like how do you know how to work with a supplier? How do you know how to get rid of a supplier? How do you know how to hire and fire? And so those values can't be singular words. It needs to be emotions and feelings and decisions that we could make to help us navigate to our North Star. And so those are values. And I think maybe the word is probably outdated now, values. I think it should probably be something else, which is more like triggers or that these things are. That's for me what I think values are, because I think everyone always writes down the same old ones, don't they? You know, creativity, diligence, honesty. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
No, and I think I've done this a brand values exercise with a client over the last couple of months actually, and they obviously started off with we want to be trustworthy. And I was like, sure, but I've never met a business that wanted to be untrustworthy. It's kind of expected that you will be kind of trustworthy and customer centered, right? They don't mean anything, but they mean, like, they're expected. I expect my service to be good. I expect to be able to trust the people I choose to buy from will deliver the thing that I paid for, right? Jesus Christ. Like, do you know what I mean? It's about, I think you said the word personality, right? They need to be more emotive. They need to be the personality, like how you show up as a brand, how you onboard or offboard people, right? It's the proof that your values is true in a brand that's important, right?
Yeah. And you know, when you mentioned earlier about like how millennials, or well, I think we can put a lot of people into the same pot about how our consumer behavior and how we choose to buy certain products and services. I think a lot of it is that we discard the brands that don't mirror our values or we don't connect with their purpose. So that leaves the pot that are more likely to get our custom. So we get rid of the ones that we don't like. And also the brands that are more purpose driven and have this voice, this powerful, positive voice. As I said before, marketing becomes really, really easy when you've got a really strong voice and you've got like an image and a vision and a tone of voice and a personality that is so well thought out and is so considered and is so connected with the team that work and all the stakeholders and their community within that brand. Like, their marketing becomes so much better, so it resonates with the consumers better. And that, again, and I know I keep saying it's that all roads lead back to brand strategy. If you're having those conversations through every single department, through every single person within the organization, so you all know why you work there and you all know what you're working towards, the marketing department isn't a department. You're all the marketing department. You're all the voice, you know. And like you mentioned earlier, that there's creatives are now working interdisciplinary through every department, and that, you know, HR is working through all the departments, operations, product innovation. It's not these secular little departments coming up with ideas at the moment. It's more of a fluid, organic, breathing machine. It just so happens that when you are at your desk, you've got a specific role to fulfill and do. But in terms of like the important stuff, the idea generation, the voice, the they're coming up with products, improving products. Everyone needs. It's a playground that we all play in, and that's why brand is there's difference between marketing. Brand is it's the playground that we all play in together, and it's that community. It's the community, whether it be internally and externally, of how we work together. And the brands that are doing better are the tighter communities, the communities that are having fun, and they've got a vision and they've got a purpose.
That was a good place to end. All things come back to brand strategy.
All roads lead back to brand strategy.
All things come back to brand strategy. Johnny, part 2 has been wicked. I'm going to end that there because I'm sure there'll be future parts. But thanks very much for your time. I will put Johnny's contact details for Seed Creativity and Brandmaster Flash, and his lovely Obstacle is the Way run video into the show notes. But thank you, my friend, for coming on. That was epic.
You. Cheers, dude. See you soon. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you want to find out more about Tim and the work that he does, I'll drop some of his details in the comments or in the show notes. If you want to have a listen to his podcast, which I do recommend you do, it's called The RE of Marketing. They do longer conversations and they interview guests, and he also does the short bite-sized episodes, which are really, really cool. But yeah, I'll stick his details in the comments. But like always, be useful, be kind, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.